Hello, everyone. Welcome to Introduction to Web Programming class. I did a quick Google search to find out how many websites are there on the web at the moment. Now, I'm not sure how reliable this website is, but I looked into a few places, so numbers are pretty similar. So according to the internet, there's over 1 billion websites around the world. And about 18% of them are currently active. So that comes around 200 million of them that are active. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is the web programming is a very, very large and impactful field of programming. We interact with it on a daily basis. A lot of things we do on a daily basis depending on these websites functioning properly as expected without any issues. So it's important to understand how they work, and especially for someone who are planning to go into any arm of programming, this will be a great opportunity for you to explore how web works, how the websites work, and what goes behind the scenes. Now, we have been interacting with the websites even without understanding how they work, because assuming we are the end user of this product, we don't necessarily need to understand how this works. Same way, if we drive a car, we don't need to understand necessarily how engine works. If there's an issue, we'll call the mechanic, take it to the shop and get it fixed, but we don't need to know how the gasoline is coming to the combustion engine, explosion happening, this and that. We don't need to know them, but we do want them to function as expected. Websites goes the same way, especially nowadays. If there's a slow website, a buggy website, buttons don't work, etc. This has become very intolerable for many of us. Things moving a lot faster than they used to. So it's important for a business, because usually there's a business behind a website. It's important for business to have their website up to date, functioning, and hopefully useful, so people can find out about them, etc. Right? Now, before we get into the whole details of how to structure your website, this and that, the most basic thing we need to understand about how web programming works is understanding its fundamentals. Now, there's so many new languages, technologies, new frameworks has come up in the last few years, let's say 10, 20 years, and all new ones coming up every year. But the foundation has not been changed. The foundation is, let me show you this little graphical representation here. Now, this is what web programming has been for a while. These are, starting from the left bottom here, HTML5, HTML, CSS3, www, PHP, JS, CSS, XML, Java. These are all the tools and technologies. Of course, there's more, but these are some of the most fundamental, some of the things that has been around for a while. Now, excuse me, we will eventually talk about each of them, what they mean, how they're used. But I would like to, let me grab my pen here. I would love to point out the ones that are foundation of every website. So that one would be HTML. Later, HTML5 is the most recent version of HTML. If we go through the iterations of the HTML, we will see that, in the past 20 years it has changed, and the latest version we have is HTML5. We'll get to the differences between the two and why they're both still used, and more. So HTML would be the foundation, one of the foundations. CSS and CSS3, the same way HTML5 has a version difference. CSS and CSS3 has the same idea, and JavaScript. So these three things, JavaScript, CSS, any version, and HTML are the foundation of a website. Now, if we look into, before we understand how they work, how they interact with each other, we can grab any website. For example, let me get rid of my pen here. I don't think we need it at the moment. If we grab any website, now, you might be surprised to see that it's very easy to access some of the code of this website. You might have done this accidentally before or on purpose. So if you right-click anywhere in the screen, so I'm just right-clicking, it's the same little pop-up window that I get. No matter what browser you're using, the things might be a little different, but you do get this at the very bottom called inspect or view page source. We can click any one of them. Now, if we click view page source, this will redirect us to a page like this, a separate page, where we will be able to see some, not all of them, some of the code of the website. Now you see there's, let me actually check. There's over 2,000, close to 3,000 lines here. Now, keep in mind that this is not all of them. Okay, and I'll get to the idea of why this is not all of them later. But so if you click view page source, you get it as a separate screen. But more interestingly, if you click inspect, so I'm on top of this HTML headline. This is Wikipedia, by the way. If I right click on it and do inspect, you will see this little subsection on the browser comes in, and I am able to see the same code that I just saw here. Okay, but this one is a little more interactive. You see, as I move my cursor around, things are changing here. Things are changing. Now, what is going on here? Now, what's going on is this. As I highlight these pieces of code, the area that is corresponding to this code is getting highlighted. So when I hover over this HTML, you see on the screen that the HTML part, just the HTML part gets highlighted. If I go a tiny bit further, tiny bit upwards here, by the way, my mouse is down on the page. If I go a tiny bit up, you can see that the whole subsection is getting highlighted. Okay, now if I can collapse all of them, so maybe I can open some of them. You can see as I roll through this, different things are getting selected. Different parts of the websites are getting selected. Now, so far, if you have never done this before, when you open a website, it feels like a one whole page, but in reality, these are all subsections. So if I grab my pen here again, you can think of this is a header section. We have a little left side. Okay, that's not the best drawing. We have a left side panel. We have a right side panel. We have a little place here for advertisement. We have this section where we can create an account, log in. Then we have a body of the website. Now, this will be, of course, different for different websites, but the idea is website has been divided into sections, or we could say could be divided into subsections, and they serve different purposes. Now, as we mentioned, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript are the three core technologies that we have to build a website, and there's a lot. They have changed over time. Like I said, there's been new things that came about. They all serve the same purpose: to build this website as efficiently as possible. But foundation has not been changed much. All right. So now, why HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and what's the purpose of them? Now, HTML is a structure of a website. Okay, let's keep that in mind. In fact, if we look up the word HTML, we would see that it means the hypertext markup language, or HTML, is the standard markup language for documents designed to be displayed in a web browser. Now, when we're talking about websites, they are displayed in a browser of some sort. Could be Google Chrome, Firefox, whatever you prefer to use. Microsoft Edge would be another example. So HTML is the structure of a website. Now, what do I mean by structure? We'll get there in a second. And the other thing we mentioned is CSS, which you can see down here. It's called cascading style sheet, right? So cascading style sheets are design and artistic side of things. How they look, what color are they, where are they positioned? So CSS is what makes websites beautiful, if you will. Okay, so HTML gives it a layout, your header, your subsection, left side, right side, the midsection where your text will go, etc. But CSS will make it more beautiful, or beautiful. And then we have the last thing, which is a scripting language, is called JavaScript. Now, JavaScript is responsible for functionality. Now, if I'm in this screen at the moment, okay. Now, when I click this, for example, I go to this website, which is, by the way, a tutorial for an HTML. Now, if I click, there's a button here called Study Our Free HTML Tutorial. Now, let's do a quick inspection on this one. So I'm going to hover over this, right click, and I'm going to say Inspect. Now, here you see the A tag, which we'll look into later what that means. There's A tag, there's some class information, there's some link here, which we can assume it's the link that it will take us eventually. Okay, there's something called style. Okay, now this style, font size 18, there's padding left, right, font family. What else do we have? Margin top, etc. Now, if I try to change this to, let's say, 12, now you can see that this thing has shrinked a little. Now, if you did not notice that, I'll make it very tiny so we can notice it. Now, keep an eye on this little green, well, it's not that little, this green button thing. And I'm going to make it 2 pixel, just so we can see the difference. If I click enter, you see how tiny it got. So now, did I change this website? Not really. Okay, this is an illusion of a change. If I refresh it, it will go back. So I can, let's actually do that. So if I make it, let's say, absurdly big, make it 40, okay? And if I refresh this page, this will go back to normal. So I don't, as an end user, got an access to edit this source code, but I can play with it here. Okay, so on the right side, you can see some details. Now, these details are under Styles tab, if you see down here. Now, this means this button has been styled using these details. Okay, so if I try to change them, we can see, now remember we said CSS is what gives it a visual appearance. Okay, so I see here something that might be a bit obvious called background color. It shows green here. Okay, there's a color palette here you can choose a color from. Now, if I try to turn this off, there you go. Now, keep an eye on the button. You can see the color changing. I completely turned it off. No color. Okay. Or I could change it. Keep an eye on the button. It's changing, right? So this is what CSS is all about. Giving a style, making it nice, aligning it properly, etc. All right. So that's your CSS. So this part is your HTML. Now, you can also embed CSS inside HTML, which we will get into that later. For now, just know that HTML is your structure, CSS what gives it a beauty, and JavaScript is what makes functionality. Now, when I click this button, this will take me, I'm going to just open it in a different page. It's going to take me some different website, well, different page where I can, now, in fact, to do that, you don't necessarily need a JavaScript, but I'm going to show you somewhere where you can. Now, when I run this, click run. So, by the way, this is a tutorial part of this website. You can try it yourself. You can try it yourself. It will allow you to play with the code. So I'm going to change some of this. For example, this one says what? Page title. My first heading. Let's change it to my second heading, just so we can understand that this code is actually changing. So I'm going to click run here. You see the code is changing. Okay. Now, what happened when I clicked run? The functionality behind it is what JavaScript is. Now, what do you want to happen when a button is clicked? Okay, now of course this doesn't go only for buttons, but the idea behind JavaScript is it's a functionality of a website. Without JavaScript, you will have a structure, you will have buttons, everything looking nice, but you wouldn't have any functionality. Of course, there's some little nuances that you can open a link through HTML. You don't necessarily need JavaScript, etc. But overall, in a general zoomed out version, HTML is the functionality of your website. Now, since we're here, we notice these little things. In fact, let's go back to this one. I'm going to inspect this again. Now, keep an eye on this website name here on the very top left. It says HTML Wikipedia. Now, we always have seen this in different websites, okay? But where is it coming from, you might ask? It's coming from the HTML, in fact. Now, if you just noticed here, we had something called title. You see these are called tags, by the way. HTML has these things called tags. You see this one is an opening tag. This one is a closing tag, okay? You can see also here H1 open, H1 close. P stands for paragraph, paragraph open, paragraph close. Okay. Now, without getting into too many details here, now you see there's a title. Okay. This title, HTML, when the browser renders the HTML, it looks for the title inside your code and grabs it and puts it on top of this website. Now, if I change it to just let's say test, you see, I clicked enter, by the way. This website name has changed. So browser renders the code, all right, and then finds it, looks for the title, whatever is in the title, brings it up and puts it and displays it on the browser. So this would be a tiny bit of a interaction with an HTML. Now we'll talk about the little details, what you can do, what you cannot do, how to put together HTML, CSS, JavaScript to create something functional. For now, hope you find it useful, and I'll see you in the next class.